All right, here we are. So a lot going on in the world today. It is February 26th, 2022. Just keep orienting us to where are we, what is happening. And right, this week we have Russia invading Ukraine, and it's impacting so many of us, especially sensitive people that have very kind of caring resonance to these kind of big world events. So I know for myself, I've been feeling it, and a lot of the conversations I'm having with others. And I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful. My daughter's here waving at me. Sorry. I'm incredibly grateful for this practice, right? Like this has been just a very grounding, a place to come back to in a time in the world where it can feel like there's a lot of movement and a lot of chaos. To have a ground to return to that helps us feel connected to self, reflective on our actions in the world, on what we can do or contribute to create a place that feels more kind and more generous and caring, and kind to ourselves and generous and caring of ourselves as well. All right, so we can come back in and then attend to what's out there without being spun out in it. Right. And I'm calling today's class a soul flow for a lot of reasons. One is that I would say for myself, the kind of theme of the last few weeks has been like a very deep tether inward to some deep work and some deep dreaming and working with those inner states and allowing things to move and to come to the surface. And sometimes that's uncomfortable, right? It can be tender to go into those inner places and to allow ourselves to be touched by something that feels scary out there and to resonate even with something like that. And yet very important as part of this human experience to kind of navigate how much do I touch at any given point. So with our soul flow, it's really about nurturing. It's about finding path of least resistance. I invite you to kind of explore these shapes as if you're more moving like water, and just allowing you to recognize that while water is going to find the path of least resistance, it's going to also has a powerful force, right? It can carve canyons, it can smooth rocks. Like it's a profound capacity, even in a softer manner. And with all of our kind of growth, whether it's personal or collective growth, there's a quality of patience that's required, and that recognizing that we can't force growth upon ourselves or upon anyone else or the world, that we might feel the desire right now. I don't know if you can see behind me, but 2 weeks ago, my amaryllis was just opening. We're just now past full bloom. But we might feel the desire to kind of like open up that flower or create this shift. And we just have to be patient and allow something to emerge in its own timing. And that's true of us. So we're going to trust that we will unfold according to the wisdom of the deep cycles of nature. And I'm going to invite you in this practice to let go of any need to force. We're just going to really see if we can soften around that. Meet yourself where you are, follow your own path of least resistance. This is the spirit of self-acceptance. So in our rhythmic earthy flow today, we will at some points have our knee down on the mat. And if you want a little cushion or a blanket to soften that, that might be a nice addition to this practice, or a prop to have. We don't need all that much else. I will share a poem before we dive into our movement practice together. And this poem is called "The Earth Says" by Larry Butler. Okay. The earth says, keep still, stay put and listen to the roar of silence. Hold on and root deep for treasure. Feel the sap rising through your bones. Wait and see what happens. The river says, keep flowing into the lochs, swirling and swelling and swishing. Keep floating down, down and down, falling and carving the mountains down to the beautiful sea. The trees say, keep rooting, rooting and rising into the sky. Spread out your arms to embrace everything. Breathe deep, deeper with each falling leaf. Gather fruit and nuts for winter. The sky says, keep looking. Sniff the air and notice the small changes. Notice the small changes moment by moment, breath by breath, cloud by cloud, watching your thoughts float by. The birds say, keep singing. Sing from your heart, fly from branch to branch. Stay curious, stay light, start fresh. Each year with a new nest, start fresh each year with a new nest, and then be patient. And sit on your eggs till they hatch. The sun says, keep smiling, smile at your reflection on still water. From dawn to dusk, go outside, out to play with light and shadow. In the day-long dazzle, leaping through thin air. The compost heap says, keep rotting, decomposing, turning, burning, digest everything that comes your way. Keep returning to the earth, and the earth returns tenfold to you. The earth says, keep still. The earth says, keep still, stay put, wait and see what happens next. So that's where we'll start. Just allowing yourself to arrive with what's here for you, with what you're bringing into this practice. With what is your intention? What are you hoping to take away? And our intentions are really powerful, especially as we join together, right? It's a really powerful practice. Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to shift onto my mat. We're going to breathe and move together. As always, find your way that suits you. Now, I'm going to invite the starting position for this particular practice to be seated in hero's pose or rock pose, sometimes called thunderbolt pose. But if that does not work for your knees or for your hips, you can do this on a chair. You can do this sitting cross-legged, as we often start. You might even choose to sit up on something like a bolster, right? So feeling any way that's going to support you as we get started and dive in. So arriving here in your chosen starting shape. And again, tuning in, maybe even to those kind of layers of felt sense, the physical body. How is your breath moving? How might your heart be resonating with this kind of opening theme? the quality of mind and thoughts, energy. And as we deepen into our practice together, we'll begin with breath. And I'm going to mirror with my hands, and you can let your hands move with me or not. But I'm going to invite kind of our three-part breath, breathing into belly, rib cage, chest, and exhale, chest, rib cage, belly. I'm going to let my spine follow the breath. And this is a rhythmic practice, and you really are asked to listen inward to your rhythm. So if your breath is slower or longer than mine, honoring, following. And exploring what it feels like in you to empty out and to fill up. You might even explore how it feels to reside in emptiness for just a moment. And then as you find fullness, to let yourself pause there. One more full cycle. And then coming back. Our next rhythmic flow, I'll show from the side here. And we'll call this porpoise, this quality of just diving your torso through space, allowing yourself to find that spinal rhythm. And exploring, even as we did with that three-part breath, how you might open up some of the channels and spaces in the belly, across the diaphragm, maybe even really sensing the back body, the ribs, the chest and shoulders, the neck can come in. And remember, it's a no force practice. Coming back to a smoothness of following a path of least resistance. You might explore a little side to side action. You can take your hands for support or side ballast here, just allowing your spine to still kind of forward, but at a diagonal. And if at any point you find a little pocket of sensation, you can add a little undulation right in there, a little area that's maybe tight or caught, those places of resistance. And we just give that our attention, no force. Lovely. And when you're ready, coming back to center again. Our next opportunity, if you choose to take it, is to curl the toes under and to set your heels, your hips back on your heels. So this is toes pose. And I'll invite you to start by turning your fingers back. So you're opening up both into the ankles and the wrists. And you can rock a little bit forward and back. And then maybe settling your hips a little further back towards your heels. This time you might walk your hands up onto your thighs, and nothing needs to look any particular way. So you can find stillness, or you might find micro movements inside of this shape. Lovely, not there for too long. So you can come on out and maybe untuck your toes. You could even give your tops of feet a little patting here. And then as we come back to sit on the heels once again, it's a lot in this shape. And if it's a lot on your knees, we won't be here too much longer. I'll invite you to kind of open up across the fronts of the ankles. So you can do one knee at a time, kind of lifting the knee and setting down, or maybe even rocking onto the tops of both ankles. You can use your hands behind you, or perhaps even tucking your fingers under your shins. And once again, not here for too long. So if it creates a little bit of too muchness, back out. We're going to come on out together. Again, tucking the toes under, so we're opening up fronts and backs of the feet. This time we're going to roll the knees off the floor and coming into a supported squat. So you might start with the feet and the knees together in this shape, and you might find stillness or a little bit of a balance, a little bit of a movement. Just greeting yourself, your feet, this point of connection to our earth. And then maybe stepping your feet a little bit wider. And in that wider stance, just allowing a little bit of a rocking from side to side. One ankle might lift as the other lowers. Knees can lift and lower a little bit. Lovely. And then we're going to drop one knee down. So I'm going to keep my right knee lifted and come into a half squat. So left knee, left ankle as we were, right foot's on the ground. And in this half squat, finding a little bit of spinal movement once again. So a little curl and a lift, maybe a side to side. You might even twist from right to left and unforced. There's some freedom in here. How does your body own this shape? And maybe joining me in a little playful endeavor here. We're going to plant the left hand, extend the right foot, right arm. And then we're going to contract again, coming back into center, even crossing midline, turning towards the right. Exhale, let's plant that left hand, and inhale, let's expand again. Coming back in, curling it in. Let's do that one more time, opening it up. And drawing back in. Good. To shift sides, I'll invite you to bring your weight forward, lowering the right knee, right ankle, and lifting through the left. So now side two and a little bit of that free form. How does your body make this yours? Maybe moving your spine forward and back, or side to side, even a twist. And then from here, it's that right hand is going to come down, opening through the left leg, left arm, just feeling that expansive shape. And then let's draw it back in, even across, opening. And coming back in. And expand. And coming back to center. Good. So I'm going to just shift to the side, same shape, and I'll offer up a playful way of going from side to side. So before we came forward, you can always do that again, or you can draw your right foot slightly forward and shift your hips back. It's going to let both feet free up in front of you. And then we're going to draw the left knee down, left foot in, right foot forward. Okay, now it can take a little bit to kind of feel this rhythm in your body. I'm going to shift side to side. So what I'm doing is I'm drawing the hips back behind that forward heel and switching which leg is down. Hips back behind the heel, legs forward, a little boat, and lifting up. And just a few more side to side. So if you're going, I didn't quite get that, take your time, explore how your body wants to transition side to side or skip it. All is welcome. Rolling up, coming back, rolling up, and sitting back. And this time as we sit back, I'll invite you to pause in a boat. Now with boat, we have options. We have options with heels on the ground, heart lifted. We have options to lift the heels, find a little bit of balance. Maybe the hands stay behind the knees, maybe the arms come forward. And I'll offer up, as we come into our moving boat, right, going down our river together, I'll offer up bringing those heels back to the earth just to feel this first. And we're going to come into a little bit of flow through the upper body, lift and lower. And once again, the arms might be part of this flowing action, or you might even take those oars and really take yourself downstream, but we're going with the flow. Letting your breath support the action, and you can keep those heels down, or you might take that flow with the feet off the earth. And let's bring the heels back down. Another variation of our theme here, I'll show this facing you for a moment, is to then go side to side. Just flowing. And just as we did with our rowboat before, you might choose to take the feet off the earth, side to side. And then lowering feet to the earth and upper body all the way down. In our next flowing movement, rhythmic flow. We'll take the hands underneath the hips, and we're going to create a water wheel with our legs, lifting the legs up overhead, not overhead, over your hips maybe. And then we're going to find your range of motion as you water wheel your legs forward, down, and back. And this can be a high up, smaller water wheel or a larger range of motion. And there's no better or worse. Listening to your low back and what supports you to wake up through the core of your body right here. Lovely. And as you draw your knees back in, we'll release the hands, hugging around your knees for a second, maybe rocking a little side to side. Maybe sighing it out. And then hands behind your knees and a few rocks on your spine. All the way up over the shins. And we'll come into a table for a moment. And we'll be revisiting this shape, but I'll invite you to come down onto your forearms and to send your feet back. From this forearm plank shape, you can take your hands together for a moment if you like, if that's more supportive, or you can keep your hands, forearms parallel. But I'll invite you just to rock a little bit forward and back on your toes. Again, feeling that core that we are waking up through these shapes. And then stilling the movement with the heels and taking a similar kind of oscillation here with the upper body. So taking your gaze to your toes, to your feet, and then your gaze a little forward. And on an exhale, really contract it in and inhale. And exhale, really squeeze it in. And inhale. I don't know what I'm saying here. Let's exhale one more time here. And inhale. And then in this static hold, maybe dropping your hips from side to side. Just a little bit, waking up in that rhythmic manner. You might notice this in your hips, in your shoulders, just so long as it's not uncomfortable in your low back. So honoring your rhythms, honoring your range of motion, and then settling knees, hips to the earth. Here, perhaps widening the feet a little bit, widening the forearms into Sphinx. You might tuck the chin slightly, pressing into forearms, even puffing through the upper back. If it's discomfort in your low back, you can press into your knees, lengthen through the low back, and then settle the tailbone longer. Try that a few times until your low back perhaps feels a little bit more settled in this shape. And then maybe drawing your ears back, chin parallel to the earth, and just feeling yourself in this shape, the currents of movement inside the stillness. Lovely. If you'd like to join me for this next shape, we'll be bending through the left knee into a Sphinx frog, Sphinx frog. And I like to tuck those right toes under and just give a little bit of a rock here, a little pulsation. And then settling that pulsing, settling the top of the right foot, and maybe pressing into that left hand, maybe even gazing past your left shoulder, and then soft into center. So a little rhythmic turn and twist. Lovely. All right, listening here, we're going to plant that right hand. We're going to plant the left hand, same side as the knee. We're going to slide the right arm underneath, planting the right shoulder. Right side of the head can come down, maybe even on top of the right hand, and then open the left arm back. So you can choose how much you want to go into a twist, maybe letting that right knee lift off the floor as you draw the left hand back behind you. Just allowing yourself to feel the support of the earth has you here. And then using that left hand to guide you back around forward into your Sphinx. You can lengthen out through that left leg, even yourself out for a moment. Good. And side two, bending into the right knee. And maybe tucking those left toes under, giving yourself a little rock, a little rhythmic movement, pulsing. And then settling that left foot and the pulse, and maybe the right palm presses down and we turn to gaze toward the right. And finding your rhythm once again. A little undulation of the spine, half frog, supine, or Sphinx twist here, just a wave-like motion. And as we come forward, we're going to plant that right hand, enough for the space of the left arm to go underneath. Maybe the left hand cradles the head as you come into a supine twist. And neither the shoulder nor the knee need to touch the earth, right? This is a no force practice. It's feeling where you land in relationship to gravity and the range of motion in your spine, and accepting right there. And then forcing back around, lengthening. Here we are, back to Sphinx. Widening the elbows, palms to earth, and a moment to press back to child's pose. Resting in that pause of stillness, and we wait to see what happens next. Arriving, settling into yourself, and we'll take that self-awareness with us back as we come into some movement, breathing in tabletop, some cat-cow, and we'll call that the porpoise flow again, just allowing yourself to move through those spinal movements intuitively here. And then coming into our stable table. Okay, so for those of you that were with me 2 weeks ago, you'll recognize this next little flow, and I'm bringing it back. We're going to draw the right knee behind. We're going to take the right knee towards right shoulder. We're going to lift that leg and take right knee towards your chest. Inhale. Right shoulder. Inhale. Towards the chest. This time lengthening your right leg back, planting the right toes. And with that stable foundation of right toes and hands, maybe lifting your left knee. Pausing for a moment, feeling your strength. And then lowering left knee. We're going to shift weight, left hand, left knee, right foot as right arm lifts. Maybe coursing overhead, long reach through the side body. We've been in this shape already today. And then circling the right wrist as we lift, lift, lift. Upper body lifts as well, coming around into gate, reaching over the right leg. Beautiful. And then circling the left wrist as it takes us back down and around. This time grounding left hand, left knee, maybe lifting right leg. Inhale, spacious, open. Exhale, elbow and knee together. Inhale, expand. Exhale, contract. Inhale. Exhale. Option here, only if it serves you here, opening up and maybe taking hold of foot or ankle behind, finding a half bow shape. If you're not reaching the foot exactly, you can reach in the direction of. And then soften, we release, we return both hands, both knees to the earth. In a moment here, just free flow for your spine, integrating side one. And into side two. Okay, left knee lifts. And exhale to the shoulder. Inhale to your chest. Inhale to the shoulder. Inhale to the chest. And lengthening through the left leg, curling the toes under, nice and strong here, lifting through the right leg. Just a pause, connecting to breath. And planting right knee around to the side. A version of an extended side angle, feeling the stretch and the lengthening of the side body, and then rotating left hand as upper body follows, up and around into gate. Beautiful gift right here, receiving your breath, your body. And up and around once again, maybe rotating that right wrist as you settle down, lifting this time, left leg, left arm, and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And perhaps inhale, this time exhale, reaching back and behind. Maybe you take hold of the foot and find a half bow. Maybe you're just reaching in that direction. All welcome. And soften, release, back through the table. Maybe finding some circular motions with head and tail, a little barrel roll for the chest and belly, going in both directions. And then again, a pause, sending hips to heels. Your version of a brief rest and integration moment. Sometimes it feels good in this shape to rest your chin in your hands, right? Just a little kickstand here. And you can even use your thumbs, massaging around the jaw, behind the ears, or your fingertips right into the creases of the eyebrows and massaging outward from there and around below the eyes, across the cheeks. Lovely. When you feel ready, we'll draw the hands forward. We're going to come through a tabletop and pressing back into our first downward facing dog of this practice. So make it yours, bending one knee and the other, bending both knees. I like to bend knees and send hips side to side, feeling that opening under the armpits and again across the side bodies and rib cage. And I'll invite today an opportunity to lift each leg, starting with the right leg and just a few rotations in the hip joint. Maybe even extending that right leg long behind you and even stacking the hips if you want to bend the knee, whatever serves you. And then we'll plant that right foot back down to meet the left and switching sides, lifting the left leg, maybe a few hip circles here. And then maybe extending the leg behind, maybe stacking the hips or bending the knee. And then softening back, downward facing dog. Sighing something out. And then a gaze forward, and we'll take a walk, a little sauntering walk to the front of the mat, arriving with your feet nice and wide, maybe even mat's width apart, right? Nice wide base here. And from here to bending in the knees, a brief pause in ragdoll. You might nod your head yes and shake it no. And we'll take a waterfall transition up to standing. So hands to your right foot and just smoothing your hands all the way up the right leg, up, around, across, and down the left side, all the way back down to the foot. Greeting your left foot and just gracing the outer left leg all the way across the top of the head. We'll take it down the right side. One more time, inhale, up the right, and down the left. Up the left, and down the right. And coming through to center with nice bent knees, just rolling all the way up to center, maybe letting your hands just grace across your legs and side bodies, lifting all the way to standing. and exhale. I'm going to bring my feet a little more like hip widths apart for this. And we'll find a river arm. So some of you have practiced with me for a while. You know this one. We're just going to press palms in opposite directions as we come into our side bends. And you can allow your gaze to be intuitive and your rhythm to be honoring of your body and your pace and your breath. Lovely. And coming to center. From here, a little bit of a porpoise or a wave-like undulation of the spine right at center. And then coming up through to center, we'll take the arms with us up and around and behind, clasping behind the sacrum, and then drawing the knuckles down, lifting your heart. Inhale. And exhale. Forward fold, Yogi Mudra, head below the heart. Head below the heart, something our world needs more of, bowing to the wisdom of the heart right here. And softening hands by way of sacrum to the earth, finding a halfway lift. Inhale. And exhale, listen carefully. We're going to step the left foot back. We're going to step the left foot back and taking the left knee to the earth. And here's where perhaps you want to have a little cushion under your knee. We're going to be lifting and lowering in that shape. So you might lift the knee up and down, however you want, finding a little intuitive way into your hips and legs. Coming forward and back. And of course, if you like blocks here, that's always an option, right? Just having a little bit more length of your arms and range of motion here. So whatever is going to support you. And I'll invite that left knee down and just sending your hips back for a moment. You might even slide your right heel slightly forward. And in this Ardha Hanumanasana, just allowing your upper body to find a little bit of that wave. And nothing needs to be extreme. We're just greeting shape and movement and breath, body. And then rebending into the right knee, maybe a nice wide stance of the legs here for a supportive base as we lift up. And you can explore how your body makes this shape, or if it's too much on the knee, you can even do this supported in a chair, right? There's lots of creative ways to work with these shapes. So in this one, there's again a bit of an undulation, an opportunity to move the spine. And as we kind of curl down, greeting the front of the left hip flexor, and as we lift up, maybe a little bit of a stretch of the psoas, finding the non-force way of breathing in here. You might free your arms and just find a little bit of upper body flow. One more like that. And then in this shape, an opportunity to greet our side body once again. So right hand to the right hip and just leaning over towards the right. Lovely. through center, and an option to take left elbow across to the outside of your right thigh. I'm going to add my padding there because that feels good. Outside of the right thigh. So we're in a knee down spinal twist. And of course, lifting the knee is an option, but we're going to come back to that shape. So maybe just being with this feeling, this experience. And we're not forcing anything with the arms. We're just really using that as a supportive or stabilizing factor with knee against elbow, allowing the twist to be more of an organic outcome. And we'll unwind the twist. We're going to lift the left knee and turn towards the left into a prasarita, wide-legged forward fold. And with lightly bent knees again, if you like, finding your forward fold at center. Blocks can be helpful to bring the floor a little bit higher. And there's no goal here. We're not trying to make a shape. We're just finding ourselves inside of these spaces. Lifting up halfway. And an option to come into Skandasana. So we're just going to go a little side to side. And that side to side might be high up, right? Or it might be deepening down. Listening to the edge of sensation, the working edge for your body. And then even backing off from that a little bit, right? Just allowing yourself to kind of greet in the softest touch, the lightest manner, these places in yourself. Next time you come around with the left knee bent, we're going to use that as a transition to the back of your mat, left knee forward, right, into a low lunge. And once again, maybe that right knee touches down or stays lifted as you bring hips forward and back. Side two. Maybe your cushion's prepared to catch your right knee. Eventually grounding into the right knee, sending your hips back, maybe sliding that left heel forward just a little bit. And in our supported half split, just allowing yourself to find some of that flow through the spine, through the breath. Beautiful. And then rebending, maybe even widening that stance a little bit. Have a good solid base for your shape. And then finding a little bit of that spinal movement here. Breathing across the right hip flexor, maybe the psoas. And we can explore taking the arms with us. Like the waterfall, like the water wheel. Softening, rounding the stones. And coming up through center, we'll find that side body. So left hand can come to left hip as right arm comes across, your range of motion. And eventually into a twist with right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. And for this first one here, honoring the most gentle rhythm This gentle opening. We're not forcing, we're not pushing. We unwind. We're going to come all the way around through Prasarita. A pause here. And back to Skandasana, to the back and the front, a little rhythmic side to side. Pausing anytime you're seeking a little bit of curiosity into sensation. And eventually, as we come towards that right knee bend, we'll use that as a transition forward into a lunge. This time, stepping left foot forward. Inhale, finding a halfway lift. And exhale. Inhale all the way to standing. And exhale, softening your arms, pausing for a moment in stillness, greeting yourself right here. Beautiful. We will find a standing balance with a version of dancer's pose and exploring not so much about going to your edge, but really that rhythmic or spanda quality, that expansion and contraction in the shape. So I'll invite us to start by really sending the weight down into the left leg, grounding yourself there, taking the right arm back to catch the inside of your right foot. And I'm going to start with my hand on my heart and just allowing a little bit of this open and closed. And then maybe the left arm kind of mirrors that. Just letting yourself kick a little bit into that opening and drawing back to center. And reach and resolve. One more time, reach and return. Softening it out, 2 feet on the earth. Maybe sway a little bit side to side. Let your whole body be the river, dancing with the currents. And then in stillness, settle for a moment. Grounding into the right leg, enough to free your left. Free your left. Left arm can come back, catching left foot from the inside. Maybe right hand comes to heart, right? Fall out of it, great, come right back. It's all good. And then beginning to move with your breath. Maybe the right hand mirrors that left leg. Lovely. And then slowly returning. 2 feet to the ground. You might roll your shoulders back. Or maybe doing a little bit of a qigong twist here, side to side. Bring up that movement of your chi, your energy, the rivers, the currents within you. get to do their job. We're just letting go of those little bits of mud and sticks that get stuck in places, just letting them get carried downstream so that there's more room for your life force to fill into the crevices and the spaces of you. I'm going to come back slowly, slowly to center, to stillness once again, and just receive. Softening slightly through your knees, through your elbows, through your jaw. Just receive. Well done. Well done. I'm going to face back forward again. I'm going to stick with that kind of wider stance for a moment. And once again, we're just going to move a little energy. We're going to inhale, the arms lift, and exhale. Good. Sigh it out. Let something go that you don't need to be holding on to for yourself, for this world. Just let it go. And then inhale, sweeping up, and exhale to that forward fold. Knees can be bent, placing your palms on the earth, or if they don't reach to your blocks, just feeling that point of grounding here in your feet, in your palms. Letting your shoulders soften, letting your head, jaw release. And as we did before, we're going to step the left foot back. Step the left foot back. And from this, just exploring a brief revisit here as we lift the heart and then we send the hips back. Maybe softening left knee to the earth or your cushion here, sending your hips back once again. Coming back forward and lifting up, sweeping the arms forward, up, back, and down. Let's do that again. Water wheel the arms. Sweeping them up into our side body, right hand to hip, and exhale across into that twist. This time, an option to curl the left toes under and lift the left knee. We're going to draw the right arm up, really giving that wrist a little love as we twist and turn the right hand, which will bring us into a twisted, standing, open crescent shape. Maybe stay here, or maybe take it a little further as you draw that right arm across to your sacrum or left leg, lifting into exalted, right? This exalted crescent shape, opening the heart. And it's our left hand that's going to initiate an opening around, around, around to a 5-pointed star. Okay, so now we're facing forward, right? We're going to come into our warrior two. And with river arms, reaching away and forward. Flowing right here. Your legs like the creek bottom. Your upper body, the water flowing. Beautiful. One more time away, this time lengthening through the right leg. And exhale, right hand. Now you can take it to your shin or a block, right? Whatever's going to support you here. We're going to come into a Trikanasana triangle shape. And this won't be any surprise at this point. We're going to find a little bit of movement, this time just in that left arm. So taking it overhead, down and across and back. And maybe the other direction, forward, up and around. Maybe your gaze follows. This time, letting your upper body follow as well. Back through 5-pointed star. And turning the toes slightly in into Prasarita. Wide-legged forward fold. With a halfway lift, a little side to side, towards the right and towards the left. Hips can stay high or they can dip down, right? So you can find your variation. Eventually, as you come toward the left, we'll find side two, lowering the right knee, inhale, and exhale. Lowering the right knee, this time sending hips back, a little wave of the spine. And coming forward. This time widening the base of the legs, lifting up as we water wheel the arms. Forward, up, back, and down. And then lifting the arms towards the left side, side body opener. Into our twist, right elbow across. Maybe curling the right toes under and lifting the right knee. Feeling that stability of your legs, again, as your river bottom. And then we're going to open up through the arms. Left arm can lift us up into an exalted shape, if you like, coming further as you lift through the right arm. Left hand landing at sacrum or across the right side here. And then right fingertips are going to take us all the way around, all the way around. 5-pointed star. We're taking this towards the back, towards that left foot once again, into warrior two. Reaching away and forward. The ripples, the currents, that movement, we don't have to hold on to it. We can just let it move through. Beautiful. Next time as we lift up, taking the left leg and lengthening. And then long reach, left palm to the shin, to a block. You can keep that little micro bend in the left knee and lifting through the right arm. Once again, a little bit of movement here, overhead, down and around. Shifting directions, forward, up and around. And then right fingertips are going to lift you up, up, up through 5-pointed star. Turning the toes in slightly and a forward fold. Maybe this time coming up halfway, taking the hands to clasp at your sacrum and exhale, wide-legged yogi mudra. Nodding your head, yes. Shaking it, no. Sticking your tongue out, scrunching your face. Let a sound come out. Any of those little muscles in the face that want to hang on and resist the flow, let it go. Shake it out. And then releasing the hands by way of the sacrum to the earth. Inhale halfway. We'll find our Skandasana one more time, to the left and the right. Sometimes this is called surfer's pose, right? So we're just surfing the waves, not getting too caught up. Did we miss one? It's okay. We don't have to take the biggest one, right? It's being smooth around it. And then eventually, as you come toward the right, we're going to come up over, facing the front. Now listen carefully. From this low lunge, and you might want your blocks for this transition, I will invite a halfway lift, keeping that left leg lifted. So here we are in a kind of forward foldish, left leg lifted shape, right? And we're going to bend both knees, left knee behind right. And inhale, lengthen. And exhale. And because I periodically get this request, for those of you that like things like pressing up onto your hands, that's a lovely place to do so, right? You can even find a little hang time and pause, right? So you can play around with those Jiva squats and make them yours. We'll do just 2 more. And with the next one, listen carefully, we're going to lower down. So placing that left top of the leg, left knee behind the right heel, we're going to lower down to prepare for a seated twist. So hips settled between the feet, nice supported. And if you want to lengthen out that left leg, right, that's an option here. So finding the seated twist. And because our emphasis here is no force, starting without the arms involved, just turning towards the right. And then allowing the hands to just rest where they arrive, right? There's no need to push it here. You can kind of hug that right knee. If you want the elbow across, that's fine, but just so that it rests there. Finding length of the spine. And exhale, maybe deepening that twist just enough. Maybe the gaze comes behind the right shoulder. And we'll soften out for our counter twist. I'm going to turn to face you for a second. For our counter twist, taking the right leg around and behind, right knee behind the left foot. And we're going to twist toward the left in mermaid. Again, no force. Just allowing yourself to feel this shape. Maybe the gaze across that left shoulder. And if you'd like to join me, taking your chin around to gaze across the right shoulder. Settling and softening here. We're going to take the right leg forward once again, this time stacking right knee across, over the left knee. And that may or may not be accessible. And you can find a fire log, you can find a figure 4 variation here, right? So there's lots of options for how to greet that hip, right? So whatever version you're taking, whether it's Gomukhasana or fire logs, seated pigeon, figure 4, arriving in. In Gomukhasana, I love to take my hands to my feet, just pausing for a moment, that point of contact with the soles of your feet for our soul flow, right? As we did earlier, sometimes if you're wanting to come forward a little bit, maybe you bring your elbows on top of your upper leg and you just let your head rest right there. Right? Just let your head be supported. So much love. We unwind. We're going to take the right leg this time out to the right side, out to the right side. And finding the side body as we come toward the right leg, and you can tuck the right hand inside. You might want a block right there. Right. So just finding what's going to support you here. And left hand can stay on the left hip or up and over. Slowly lifting. We're going to revisit a shape we've been in earlier, which is to plant that left hand, lift the hips, lift the right arm. Just feel that freedom. And we settle. And we settle. So I'll invite you to draw your legs in, maybe a few rocks on your spine. And then up and over. Coming into a downward facing dog. Lifting through your left leg and stepping forward, low lunge. In this low lunge shape, we are going to then bring the right leg up, and we're in side two, one-legged standing forward fold. You might find a little bit of movement in your upper body, and then we'll find those Jiva Squats, bending both knees, right knee tucks behind the left, and inhale and expand, and exhale, contract. And for those of you that want to just press right up, find a little bit of playtime, finding that there, using your gaze, your breath, all to support balance. Whatever you're doing, right? There's no right or wrong. One more of these Jiva Squats. And then this time, it's taking the right foot, top of the foot down, and we come into our seated twist. So right foot over the top of the left. You might extend that right leg long if it's too much to have it bent. Finding a little bit of length for your spine. And as we come into the twist, without the arms, turning towards the left, right? Planting left hand, letting the right arm fall where it falls, allowing yourself to become taller on the inhale. And there's the subtle currents of movement with the breath. Turn the gaze over the left. Unwinding here and preparing for our counter twist as left leg comes around behind for mermaid. This time, we're going to turn towards the right, softening shoulders away from your ears, taking your chin around, your eyes maybe all the way around to the right. And then if you'd like, turning your chin to the left, head gaze. And then we soften. This time, finding your version of a hip opener on side two. Maybe that is in Gomukhasana, stacking right knee above the left. Maybe that is in supine figure four or a seated figure four, stacking your shins. right? Maybe you've got lots of bolsters and blankets underneath between. Whatever is going to let you arrive, maybe greeting your soles of your feet. Perhaps that cradling of your head. And then lifting. Sending left leg out to the side, right foot to the inside. And we'll find a gentle side body here. With a block, maybe a bolster's there, whatever you need. Right hand can stay on the right hip or maybe comes overhead. Maybe we find that gentle way to find the little lift of the heart. And then slowly, maybe that right hand turns to lift you up and over. We're going to plant right hand, and one more time we lift. And settle. And settle. This time, to bring both legs forward, to give yourself a hug. And to roll back and down. I will offer up a few options here. One is with the feet hip widths apart to take a few rolling bridge shapes. Right? No agenda, just a rolling river of your spine. Your arms can mirror as you lift and lower. And then settling there. Option 2 is to take the feet off the floor, finding a happy baby. You can reach down and take hold of your ankles and let the knees just hammock to the sides. It's a lovely place to stay. Or maybe you bring the feet up towards the ceiling and you rock a little side to side here. And then softening the hold of your feet, sending your feet down. And we'll do a heel rock, a little integrative rocking motion. Again, a chi releasing motion. And you can do this with your knees bent, pressing your feet rhythmically into the floor. And you can also do this with your feet long and rocking your heels. So whichever one feels like it serves you better. And whichever you choose, as much as possible, use your breath to soften any resistance to the pulse. Okay, just allowing the hips to be rocked, your lower back and belly and digestive organs. Your ribs are rocked, your heart and lungs are rocked. Shoulders, arms, elbows, wrists, palms, receiving the rock. Breathing into your shoulders and neck. Maybe a sigh or even a sound, right? allowing your jaw to be soft so that your head receives the pulse of the rock. And then when you feel ready, soften the movement and receive. Experiencing any of the subtle currents that you have awakened through this rhythmic soul flow practice. Even as you let go of the outer movement and rocking, see if you can hold yourself in the most tender manner. Letting yourself be held, perhaps on a soft raft that's just floating downstream. Letting yourself be soothed by this flow. Soothing of heart and mind, and opening up the channels. Connection to your soul, your inner knowing. Residing here, just letting yourself fully receive for the next few minutes. The river says, keep flowing into the lochs, swirling and swelling and swishing. Keep floating down and down and down, falling and carving the mountains down to the beautiful sea. And the earth says, keep still. Stay put and wait and see what happens next. So for this particular flow, I highly encourage you to stay longer in your resting shape. And for those of you who are needing to, or who are ready to transition into the next phase of what this day holds, I'll invite you to do so with the utmost care. Just very, very gently, returning to subtle movements of your fingers and your toes. Reawakening, perhaps for the second time today. Perhaps turning onto one side or rocking on your spine. And eventually, only when you're ready, returning to sitting. Really exploring what you are taking with you out of this practice. What that intention was, if you set one at the beginning. And to very mindfully close our practice together, I'll invite you to join me, whether you're remaining supine on your back or if you're seated, just for a moment, palm to palm over your heart. holding yourself most tenderly, knowing that it is from here that we can go back out into the world and wisely choose our actions. With gratitude, namaste.